Bom dia, welcome back. Well, I generally present myself and Salvador in a optimistic, happy, good mood light. And I often characterize Salvador, Bahia as a kind of paradise, at least for me. And in many ways, and most of the time, it is. But I'm giving myself and you, my viewers, a little reality check this morning. It's just like any place on planet Earth. It's not perfect. I have my down days. I have my issues, my struggles, my dark moments. The last few days have been a little bit on the dark side for me. Now, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day were nice. I think you saw that in my last two episodes. I had a very nice Christmas Eve dinner here in the apartment, and Christmas Day went to that private club by the beach. Very nice. But the last couple of days I've been in a dark mood. And it's because I've been feeling negative and angry, and I would say yesterday evening, even in a bit of a rage. Yep, I was feeling rageful. I went out for a walk yesterday evening, and I was really angry. I know I was walking with my shoulders slumped and my head down, probably mumbling to myself, and I ran into a friend, a Baiano, someone I've known for years. And I let off steam with him. He listened and he understood. He understood. He knows the frustrations. I mean, he's from here, and it was good getting some of those things off my chest. So I felt a bit better after I got home last night, and then today, a couple more developments that left me feeling much better. I'm in a much better mood now. But I wanted to talk about what caused my 2 or 3 days of being in a bad mood. To desabafar, to unload, to get it off my chest. I think that things have been a little bit out of balance. And that's because, I am 71 years old after all. And I think I'm in good shape, and I look pretty good, and I've got good energy for someone who's 71, but more mentally and psychologically, I am 71 and older than almost everybody around me. And I'm also come from a different culture. I'm not Brazilian. I'm not Baiano. I think I'm very well adjusted and adapted, and I've done a good job of adapting and adjusting and becoming culturally acclimated. After all, I've been here in Brazil, visiting and living in Brazil for the last 26 years, and here in Salvador, Bahia for the last 22 years. So I better be fairly well adjusted and acculturized and acclimatized. But I do have my moments when my Americanness comes out. And that manifested these last few days in feeling, I don't want to say disrespected exactly, but I felt like my needs were not being met. My needs were not being respected, in the sense that, I'm not used to living with a bunch of people all of the time. Now, I don't want to generalize about Brazilians. I certainly do not. I'm talking about my Brazilian family, which is working class and is from and are Baianos, meaning from the state of Bahia. Bahia, how would I characterize it for those of you who don't know Brazil? Might be considered like the deep south of the United States, culturally, linguistically unique. Think of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, That might be how you might characterize Bahia within Brazil. And of course, I'm not from the deep south of the United States. I'm from the north and the west coast. And so, inevitably, there's going to be some cultural clashes and some cultural misunderstandings. Now, in my family that I married into, they grew up in very large families, which is common here. They grew up in a very, very, very small house. A house that was barely a house. It was 2 bedrooms, 2 tiny bedrooms, 1 bathroom. The bathroom was falling apart. The house was falling apart. In a favela. So they're very, very used to living many, many people in crowded conditions. And Brazil in itself is what did I call it in a previous episode? A high communication culture, which sounds kind of contradictory. And the United States and Europe are low communications cultures, or actually high content and low content cultures. The United States is a low context culture where when you express things, when you communicate things, you spill it all out. You give all the details, the who, what, when, where, and why, etc. You don't let anything up to chance or guesswork. Whereas here in Brazil, it's a high contact culture, which means that it's just assumed that the other person already knows what you're talking about. The communication is less direct, less full of detail, more intuitive. And so that can lead to communication problems and a culture clash. And I think that's what happened. And it's specifically around communication or lack of communication about what was going to happen during this holiday season, who was going to be staying here. The issue and the problem was that Eliamar invited family members to stay here in the apartment without communicating it to me. And for him, in his cultural experience, life expectations, that's normal where you have a house full of people. He grew up in this little tiny house with 2 adults and I think 6 or 7 children, all crammed into this tiny 2-bedroom house. A lot of life was spent outdoors. Same with this friend I ran into tonight. His current apartment, last night I mean, his current living situation, it's 2 adults, him and his wife, and 7 teenagers and children. 5 of his own children and 2 nephews and nieces. And he's got one little corner of the living room that he considers his space. So the expectation of privacy, alone time, is not very great here. Whereas I have a high expectation of privacy and alone time. And so having these house guests here in my apartment over the holidays and Eliamar not having communicated it to me beforehand, just kind of springing on me. First it was going to be a week, then it was going to be 10 days, and now it's turned into 2 weeks. And my frustration was building up and building up and building up until the point I got to last night where I was ready to explode and do something radical like move out suddenly without notice. Just pack up my stuff, take everything, and move somewhere else, or even leave the country and move to Cambodia. Oh boy, well, that idea is thankfully past. I had a good morning this morning. Oh, one of the issues yesterday was I really, really need a new table and chairs in this place. This table is just an ugly plastic table. It's got a Christmas tablecloth on it. It doesn't belong to me, it's just borrowed. And I've got these 2 high chairs, like bar stool chairs, that don't fit with the table. As you can see, they're no longer around the table because, you know, and I wanted Elliot Amar to take me out in the car. He said he was going to come back from a doctor's appointment, pick me up, and we're going to go buy table and chairs. Well, he never communicated. He never came back home, which I don't mind. You know, I'm not his babysitter. He's not my babysitter. Just tell me. Communicate. Don't disappear. And so I was very, very angry last night about it. And it was just accumulation of a lot of frustrations around having these house guests that just sort of sprung on me. But today, in the very Eliamar fashion, he called me in the morning. He's at work today. He went out and bought a very, very nice wooden table, 4 wooden chairs that fit perfectly here in this spot in the living room. They're very attractive. I love them. He knows my taste. So, mission accomplished. It's just his very Baiano way of communicating or not communicating. And, you know, it was very thoughtful, but just wasn't thoughtful in my gringo way. It got accomplished. Tomorrow, when he has the day off, we're going to go pick it up in the car. Going to drive out. It's far outside the city where he bought it, but he got it for a very good price. And so I feel in a much better mood today. And, you know, my apartment is complete now once I get those tables and chairs. I'm here for the long run. I want this to be my forever home. I'm not planning to run off to Cambodia. So that's what I wanted to get off my chest and talk about in this impromptu YouTube video. I wasn't planning to post until tomorrow. Tomorrow is Réveillon, New Year's Eve. It's going to be very, very festive. Hundreds of thousands of people out on my streets, on the streets of my neighborhood, fireworks, live music. So it's going to be a very different kind of episode, the next episode. Very different, upbeat, lively energy that I normally transmit here from Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. But I needed to get this off my chest and let y'all know that I'm in a much, much better Baiano mood, that I worked it out. I just had to remind myself, and my friend I ran into last night helped remind me that there are cultural differences and communication differences, and it's just part of living abroad in a different culture. And I think I've done a damn good job of adapting. You know, lots of Americans move abroad and they move into what I call gringo ghettos. Puerto Vallarta is my example, where they're living in a different country, but they're surrounded by fellow Americans. They live their life in English. They don't really make any kind of a stretch to adapt, to acculturize, to communicate. I think I do. But even I, after all of these years, have my moments, my occasional day, when I get out of sorts and need to be reminded and to remind myself that it's okay to have a day where the communication and the cultural understanding doesn't work perfectly. So this short video is just about that episode, and I thank you for listening. Thank you to all my new and old viewers. Thank you for sharing this adventure and journey here in Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. I want to wish you, as always, beijo, ciao.